Hi, everyone. It's Jake Pentland here. Thank you for tuning in. I just have a quick update before the show starts. By the way, you're going to love this episode. I mean, you guys love every episode, but this one's really good. Ken Paxton is America's AG, and we love him. Real quick, this episode was taped on Sunday. So this conversation that you see between him and my mother does not include the SCOTUS ruling for the federal government to cut down the razor wire on the border. It's a big story. So I just wanted to let you know that because I'm Jake Pentland and I got you, and I'm the best podcast producer in the business, I contacted Ken directly this morning, and he agreed to talk to me for about 10 minutes about the SCOTUS ruling. So at the end of this episode, when we say goodbye to Ken, stay tuned and you can hear Ken talk specifically about that update. I also want to say thank you guys so much for your support. Again, liking, sharing, subscribing, you know the deal. Hit the notification bell, you know the deal. We get messed with like crazy. We don't ask you to do it a lot. We've got a great audience. You guys are loyal. The numbers are good, but we could always do better. And honestly, I think we're doing such good work, and this is an important year for this country, that the more we can get out there and share, the better it is for everybody. MAGA. And also, I want to do a special shout out to Jason Watkins. This man is a hero behind the scenes for those of you who don't know him. He's a friend of mine. He's a tremendous person. I've met him finally in person at TPUSA. He's been clipping the show and helping free of charge, and he's just a tremendous person. And I always want to find some way to help him. He will not accept payment, which is probably why I like him the most. But I just want to say, Jason, I love you. You're the best, and you deserve everything that you could possibly get. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Click on our sponsorship links if you want, and the snippets. That always helps. And God bless.
Oh, greetings, earthlings and human beings, as well as any animals who might be listening in on today's podcast. I'm so excited. We're going to have a great conversation. We have a great guest, Attorney General Ken Paxton. Say hello.
Hey, great to be on. Thanks for having me on, Roseanne. I appreciate it.
Welcome to the Roseanne Barr podcast. Cue the song.
So you see, my patience is growing thin.
Oh my gosh, you're a real flashpoint in this whole MAGA uprising against the establishment, the modern day punk rock American Revolution 2.0
I love
movement.
I love how you put that. But people hate me in that establishment as much as they hate Trump.
Congrats.
I know. It's a badge of honor for me.
Well, they certainly tried to take you out there in Texas because they didn't want you. Are one of the few non-Soros, I won't say elected, I'll say selected attorneys general in this constitutional republic called the United States of America. You're one of the few who wasn't selected, but was actually elected, right?
That's exactly right. There's no way they wanted me to be Attorney General. The Bush clan, Karl Rove, the Democrats, nobody wanted me except the people of Texas.
Yeah. How did you get elected with the Bushes and Roves after you?
So obviously they have, the Bush name is 100% known, and they have unlimited resources. But I think people started figuring out that what the Bushes said wasn't actually what they believed, and
Right.
They started especially after President W left office. People started realizing he wasn't being consistent with what he'd said he believed. And I think as the new Bushes came into office, like George B. Bush, they also saw they weren't doing the things that they had promised that they were going to do, and people just stopped believing in them, and for good reason. They seemed to align themselves more with, the Obamas and the Clintons than they did us, and they certainly came out openly against President Trump. And as far as I'm concerned, he's the most pro-American, regular people president I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's definitely true. He likes the working people of America. He doesn't feel that they are just dirt beneath his feet that he can crush or use or move around. He actually respects the working class people of this country of all colors. And boy, do they hate that, don't they?
Oh yeah, I mean they're very elitist. They're very controlling. They think they know more than the rest of us. That the average person is not smart, and that they can better manage our lives than we can. That's why they like big government, because they think that they're smarter than us and they'll make better decisions about our health care and about our jobs and about everything else. And the truth is, we're all incentivized to make the best decisions we can for ourselves. And I'd much rather trust my fellow citizens than the government to make any decisions for me or for them.
Now, just saying that and knowing that you are, you're an America First MAGA type, aren't you?
I'm absolutely. I became a believer very quickly as I watched him operate as president. And I was like, wow, this guy is like, no matter how they characterize him, he's for real. He's actually doing things that help Texas, that help me and my job, help my fellow Texans, help Americans. Like, I was stunned at what we were getting, because so many times we're disappointed the other way. I was disappointed in how the Bushes operated, because they promised one thing and did the opposite, and got us into all kinds of trouble and wars and higher costs for things that we shouldn't have been spending money on.
And
And Trump,
sending our kids away to useless wars to die or come back injured to live underneath bridges.
I couldn't agree with you more, Roseanne. And my daughter went to Afghanistan twice. My son-in-law was in Iraq 3 times. And I was frustrated. I was like, why are they over there? Why are they risking their lives? Why are they risking their bodies when we're, for what? I didn't see a purpose. All I saw was my kids risking their lives. And look, I'm happy that they're patriots and they cared about this country and
Yeah.
they were willing to sacrifice, but not for a cause that doesn't mean anything and it's not helpful to America.
Right.
You know what I was shocked at? I was thinking the other day, uh, I was thinking about all these people my age or a little older at the time that were going to Vietnam, and they told us they were going there to stop the spread of communism. That Vietnam was a domino thing. If Vietnam fell, then everybody would fall, and so everyone went to stop communism. My friends in high school died over there to stop communism, and how would they feel, or are they turning over in their graves when they see the communist takeover of our own country here? They must be turning around in their graves.
No, I agree. And my father, he was an Air Force pilot. He went over there several times and risked his life, did some very dangerous missions. And the truth was, he knew that they weren't really trying to win the war. It was just a game, and it wasn't a real war. It wasn't a war that we could have won. If they let them do their job, if they let the military just finish it off, we could have won. And that we weren't trying to win that war. It was a political game that the politicians were playing, and the sacrifice was American lives.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that is the only game that, I don't even know if they're Americans anymore. It's like whoever pays the money gets the lobbying power to our Congress, and they'll make the laws that they're, people who are their lobbyists paying them. In other words, they're pimps. Whoever pimps the most money to them, they'll write that law. So I don't even know if they are American anymore. I mean, are they? They're more like global. Wherever their interests are, wherever they are using the most slave labor to produce the highest profits, that's where our Congress is invested, and they also get notification of insider trading of when to invest in certain coming uh, possible traumatic events, and they put their money on that too. There's nothing more evil than these people, that they would continue to try to start a war that the entire planet can't win, and they keep on pushing it. They keep on pushing it. They don't care about one child on this planet, not at all. It's just disgusting to me. It's ungodly.
No, I think you're right. And you look at President Biden, his family's been benefiting from foreign interests for how long? For years and years and years since he was vice president. And it all gets funneled to the family and nothing happens. And then instead they go after President Trump for having documents in his garage or in his house or in his office. And Biden had the same documents in his garage, and that's not a problem. So it's definitely a double standard. And you're right, Congress So many of them seem to do really well trading ahead of what we would know. They do extremely well. They're very
Yeah,
profitable, and I
especially
have
in
real problems with
vaccines. Oh boy, did they do well with the vaccine thing.
And defense contracts.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It's you're exactly right, and that I think that's why if you look at Congress, they don't really do that much anymore. It's the bureaucracies that run everything. Congress has ceded their control to that, and they spend most of their time fundraising and going on
Yeah, and having
trips.
sex with people, that's what it seems to me they do is I'll have a lot of sex. A lot of sex you can get blackmailed into, and they keep on doing it too. I guess once you get blackmailed, you got to keep it up. But anyway, don't you think the whole damn thing runs on blackmail, Ken?
I think there's all kinds of problems. It seems like it mostly runs
Mhm.
on money and making money, and it doesn't seem like anybody's really focused on doing the right thing for the American public. How many people have confidence in Congress? I don't know many that say, "Wow, they're doing a great job. They care about us." And look, I know there's some good people up there trying to do the right thing, but it's certainly not the majority. It's certainly a small percentage that actually seem to care about the right thing, and they don't have any power. And so I don't see. I mean, I can't name many good things that have come out of Congress in the last 10 years. Can you?
I can think of a few since Trump went in there. Yeah, I can think of a lot of things that people don't know about yet, but I think will make the light of day. A lot of investigations that were kind of done, and only people who really read like military drops and stuff know about. So I do think that decency is winning against evil. I do. And I think you were a real good linchpin in that because they was trying to take you down on account of, they want to put a Bush in. Oh, Michelle Obama's partner in crime, as she calls W, her best buddy, and all that. The Obama's buddy, Bush Obama, I call him. But anyway, they really wanted that seat. It's a very very important attorney general seat there in the state of Texas, and I was like, okay, Ken. Last time I saw you over there, I go, okay, Ken, when you going to put the pedal to the metal? You got this. And it was not too long, right, Jake? It was like 2 days later. I'm like, look at Ken go. You had filed a suit against Big Pharma.
Pfizer?
That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
How's that going, by the way?
Yeah. So what happened was I announced the investigation, and 3 weeks after I announced our investigation of Big Pharma, including Pfizer, I call them Puff Pfizer. They
Yeah.
I was impeached. Oddly
Weird
enough, 3 weeks
coincidence.
after I announced it. So weird coincidence. I come back into office, nothing's happening with the case. I insist that we get it going, and within I think about a month, we filed a lawsuit against Pfizer because they lied to us about the effects of their vaccine, and the fact that it wasn't 95% effective. It's more like 1% effective, and that it doesn't really stop the transmission, and it doesn't really protect you, and it may have side effects. And then they covered it up, and we've got evidence of that as well. So, a lot of bad things happen to the American people, both with the pharma companies, but then big government comes in from the federal level to the state level to the local level and starts threatening people with their jobs if they don't take an untested vaccine, which we now know was never
Yeah.
tested.
Well, that's just how the U.S. military's done a lot of stuff for a long, long time. Like, it seems like rich guys use the military as their kind of personal, um, you know, arm of defense when they want to get something business wise going. That ain't
Mhm.
right. That has nothing to do with of the people, by the people, or for the people, does it?
No, and I actually think maybe that's one of the motivations for Afghanistan and Iraq and Vietnam. It's the
Right.
military complex. And I remember Eisenhower warned us about the military complex. And you look at guys like Dick Cheney, who came out of the military complex, who was vice president under Bush, and encouraged all of this military spending. We spent trillions of dollars
Well, we didn't
in
get
those
none, but
wars.
he sure did, and his friend sure did too. And they was doing a lot of business on the side, some of it unethical, satanic, and horrendous. They was making money on that too. Since they was there, since the roads were there, they might as well clean up a little bit. Um, I was and still am shocked at that guy's gall to say Trump was not good for America after how many billions of dollars he took. away from the public's money he privately pocketed. And that guy said Trump ain't no good. That really floored me.
Well, I'm not surprised. And look, the evidence I think is clear. Trump did more good things for America. I could name them. If you compare it to any previous president, whether it was Bush or Obama,
Yeah.
I think of all the terrible things they did to the country. And I can think of very few things that George W. did that were beneficial to us. I can think of 20, 25 things that President Trump did that were amazing and helpful to the American people. And I appreciate that, just that he cared. And that
Yeah,
he
and he
actually
said
cared about
whatever
everyday people.
he said he would do, he gave it all he had to make that happen. We all saw it. That was what the shocker was. I think that's why they all got really mad at him, because they're like, what? This guy's doing what he said he was going to do. It's unreal for politics. We've got to stop him. We'll never be able to live this down.
Well, he was taking a lot of money out of pockets of people that were used to benefiting and expecting both sides, Republican, Democrat, to all participate in lining their pockets and looking out for big corporate interests or big, money interests or big political interests, as opposed to looking out for the everyday American who's out there struggling to make it, through a day and struggling to educate their kids and take care of their family's health care. And President Trump made everybody better. He gave everybody a better opportunity from no matter what your background, no matter what your religious background, no matter what your ethnic background, everybody benefited
Well,
from
except
his policies.
grifters didn't.
What?
And child traffickers, their
They
business
did
was
not
cut
do
into.
well
That's
that
true.
year. For those few years. But
Not
now,
everyone was happy.
listen,
Yep,
now we're
that's
cutting to
correct.
the chase, because this is really what everybody wants to hear you talk about. Because you're always on the cutting edge. It's so good. Like me and Jake were talking, we said we got to say, hey, where'd you get the idea that an attorney general could actually go after criminals? That's new.
It's weird.
I asked my staff, I said, so what is my authority? What authority do I have? And they said, well, what do you mean? No one's ever asked you what powers we have and what powers we don't have.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the first question you need to have an answer to, right? So I said, that's your first job. I want to know everything that we're allowed to do, and I don't want to do anything we're not allowed to do. And that's how we started. We just started looking at the things that we were authorized by law to pursue, and we just viewed it a lot more broadly. I'm here to defend the Constitution. That means a lot more than just represent a state agency in a lawsuit, although that is part of my job.
So now what are you doing at the border? It's really interesting. Am I right that the National Guard is now involved against other parts of the government?
Yeah, so I have to give the governor some credit. He put some people in this park, and apparently Border Patrol was using that park to process illegal. It's only like 2.5 mile area along the border, and we have like over 1,200 miles of border, and the federal government's all upset that we blocked off their park, and they're supposedly. I just sent them a letter saying, because they gave us till today to stop doing it, and I just sent them a letter today saying, we're not going to stop. We have every right to protect our side of the border. And if you're not going to do it, they were claiming that we were interfering with their ability to stop people from crossing illegally. I'm like, that is such a joke. No one believes that. They're doing just the opposite. They just need more room to do it. And so we're going to be in a fight over that, just like we're a fight over the buoys, where I sued them over cutting down our wire and our fence that we were trying to protect our part of the properties. And we can't stop them totally, but they don't even want us to. They don't want us to do anything to protect our citizens.
Why is that? What can you tell us in your opinion? I mean, you can only give your opinion, but it's a learned opinion. Why are they doing that?
They're bringing them into Republican states to change Republican states so they can control the whole country, because they want a one-party system where there's no competition and where they're not accountable to anybody. And second, I think they want to bring people in that are going to cost Republican states a lot of money. And not only just cost them money, but bring in crime. In America right now, people are voting with their feet. They're moving to Texas. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to Tennessee. They're moving to Utah. They're moving to Republican states because we have lower taxes. We provided a lot more opportunities. I mean, I'm a kid that grew up in California. I don't want to move back to California.
Me either.
Yeah, who does? It's a mess. And so in order to stop that from happening, they're trying to create problems for Republican states to make it less desirable and make us less likely to be successful with the policies that we know are that they work.
It's such a punishment state of mind that they not only punish their enemies, but they also punish the people who vote for them. That's what I've noticed. It's like all classes of people beneath their very elevated, rich status. They don't like the workers. They don't like the poor. They don't like anybody that's, I guess, outside of their little bubble.
No, here's the deal. They think they're better than us. They think they're smarter than us. They think that they're elitists. They're elitists that look out for their globalist, rich, wealthy friends, and they don't care about poor people. They don't care about the middle class. They don't even care about wealthy people. They only care about their friends and their people that they want to take care of. And so everything's designed for them to decide who gets health care, for them to decide who gets the right job, for them to decide who gets the government contracts. They want to pick all of that because they want the power and they want the wealth. It's all designed to create a very small group of people that control
Yeah, it's like
everything.
a pyramid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not about spreading it out like our founders said, where everybody has an opportunity. And look, we're not perfect, but certainly no other country has given more people an opportunity to be successful. People that have come from nothing. Well, many people. I have lots of friends that came from nothing. And they are creating a system where that's virtually impossible, and that's the way they want it. They don't want to have the opportunity to succeed. They want them to be dependent on them and their decision, and then they get to decide who they like and who
Well,
they're
they
going to
want
benefit.
people who are afraid to rebel and who can't afford lawyers, who can't afford to rebel, and who have children and are just afraid to step out of line in any way. That's their preferred class of workers. They want docile workers. They don't want the American kind of workers. Go, what do you mean? I have a break coming up. They hate unions. So weird that they would be on the left but hating unions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I agree. They do not want people to think for themselves. They do not want people that speak out. That's why they're trying to limit speech. That's why these tech companies have worked with the federal government to limit speech. They want people that are afraid because then those people won't react. They won't say anything. And their greatest weapon is to create this fear so that we don't, as a majority, speak out. We all think we're alone.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, as I think Benjamin Franklin said it best, if we don't hang together, we're all going to hang alone.
Yeah, that's the truth. What do you
Right.
think we can do besides? Oh, I was going to say, okay, you came back. So I wanted to do this timeline thing. When you came back and you won, and they had to like show face on the media, that was really awesome. That they had to admit on camera and in front of the world that they just lied to get you indicted and all to get you impeached and everything they dragged you through, that they had just invented it and lied, and they didn't even feel bad for doing it, did they? Never apologized.
No, they have not apologized. The media has never covered this in the way that it actually happened. They've tried to rewrite history since then and tried to make these guys heroes and turn them into national heroes. The reality is people saw the trial. They got to actually see how they didn't have any evidence, how they worked behind the scenes. They never told me any of this stuff. And then they tried to, turn me over to the FBI with no evidence and no story and hope that I would just resign under pressure because, it costs a lot of money and it's you get the media pounding on you and they just thought he'll go away. And unfortunately for them, I decided that I would listen to the voters and let the voters decide.
What kind of strength did you draw on to stand there alone like that in all of that chaos?
So I'd say a couple things. One is I have a faith, and I really felt like that God takes care of His people, and that doesn't mean everything's going to work out great, but I do know that that there is a God and that He takes care of us. And second, I had a lot of Texans that were speaking out for me, even though they were told by these elected officials that they couldn't talk. They were all jurors. They're not elected officials;
Yeah.
they're jurors, which is false. They are elected officials, and they have a right. Their constituents have a right to talk to them, and their constituents were out there helping me, saying, "Hey, this is wrong. You guys are seeing this crazy stuff that these guys did, and it's wrong." And I think in the end, it was the people of Texas that saved me. It wasn't the politicians. The politicians would have gotten rid of me. All of them would have gotten rid of me in 2 seconds. Not all of them. Most of them would have gotten rid of me, but for the fact that they would have been held accountable and the fact that it became public. Because you remember the Texas House, they did all this secret. They didn't want you to know. They just wanted to say I did all these bad things, but they never wanted to have any witnesses or any evidence. They just wanted to surmise that I'd done bad things. And
they wanted to unload that BS narrative that they spread, the BS
That's what they do.
fertilizer. But I knew, I mean, Jake and I both feel, Texas is where the stuff starts, and it's a big state, and it means a lot to our country. And so we were so happy to see it. And I think when people saw the evidence of something positive like your return and your victory, the people's victory in Texas, I think that was a little bit of a kick in the pants that led to what happened in Iowa, which I'm so thrilled with, aren't you?
Oh, I'm really excited. And
It's just so great. Don't you love it when they say, like, we have to save democracy by denying you the right to vote for the candidate of your choice, because that's how we save democracy.
right? Well, that's the newest crazy thing to do, right? They can't put them in prison, which they're still trying to do. Then they just try to take them off the ballot. So we're going to save you from voting for this really bad person. Me, the Secretary of State, has decided he's a bad person, and I'm going to take him off the ballot to protect you. Wow, thank you. Thank you for being the decision maker for all of us.
Now, Attorney General Paxton, I told you, I don't know if I told you, but I think I did. I can't remember quite clearly because I had a few drinks there.
Mar-a-Lago?
But I think, Marla. But I think I told you that one of my hobbies previous to previous to this century, the last century, one of my hobbies was coming up with lawsuits.
You got one for me?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I have an idea for one.
Let's hear it.
And
Okay.
you are the Attorney General, right, of Texas.
That's still the case, despite people trying to change that.
Now, so you could indict somebody who needs to be indicted, right?
No, actually, in Texas, it's a sad story. I'm one of the few attorney generals that can't prosecute criminally. I have to get referrals from district attorneys, which is a problem because if we have district attorneys in the state who don't prosecute crimes, it's crazy.
How did that happen?
Mom, you know who we've been doing ads for the wellness company with, that's Dr. Drew's company, Dr. McCullough, with those med kits. It's going great. Their website's had some problems with deliveries, but we're getting it sorted out. We're happy with them for the most part, but they actually have a new product that I think is really, really important, and you're going to love this one.
It's really important. Yeah, I do love it.
It's called Spike Support, and it's basically like the med kit, but it's for spike proteins that may be showing up in your body for some reason.
Who knows how they get in there, but you might as well get rid of them, right? What is it? It's a pill?
It says here, Spike Support's unique blend of natural ingredients aims to block and dissolve spike protein in your body so you can get back to that pre-COVID feeling and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. So if you go to TWC Health/RB, which is the same as the med kit, use the promo code RB, you'll get 10% off. So that's TWC.health/RB. And you can still get the med kits that we talk about a lot. This is spike protein. So if you are vaccinated or you're around people that are vaccinated, it's possible that you may be in danger of spike proteins replicating in your system.
Could be.
Yeah. Or if you know someone's vaccinated, you could actually just order this and sneak it in their food.
Certainly no vote.
Well,
none of the people voted for that, I'm sure.
No one can do anything about it because the legislature won't fix it.
I get it. So they're DNC owned.
Yeah, I mean, the in these big counties that are Democrat, Soros was able to come in and pick out the people he wanted. Those people don't prosecute crimes, and so that's why you see in Austin the crime rate has gone up significantly because they don't prosecute it. It's, everybody knows you can get away with it. And that's what Soros created. And the legislature so far has failed to fix that.
What can the people do to fight back in Texas so that we can, be the,
Yeah, because we can
you know,
vote. We can vote here now, Ma.
Simple. All you have to do is get your state representative and your senator to change the law to give the Attorney General concurrent jurisdiction so that if a DA commits a crime, they actually are accountable for it. If their friends are out committing crimes, running, some type of, drug operation or whatever else they're running, I can actually do something about it. Right now, I can know about it. They can even say, a DA in Travis County can say, I'm allowing as much crime as possible here. And that would be the way it was. And the legislature so far would just say, okay, whatever.
Okay, well, I'm so glad you spelled that out because I knew something was going on and it didn't make any sense. I couldn't make any sense out of it, but you have just made sense of it. So you've given us a way to, fix it, what's broken. So we got to do this, people of Texas. I know there's a lot of, older people that have some time on their hands. They're doing things. But let's get this done now, grandparents. Let's do this. Okay. I just challenge all the grandparents. Let's get this done for the kids. We got to do that.
Well, what is it we have to do? With the elect a state senator, or is this power that Abbott could have, or someone that was governor could overturn this? Or
no, it would have to be the legislature, the Texas House and the Texas Senate would have to pass a bill that would authorize the Attorney General to prosecute voter fraud, other crime, any crimes, human trafficking, so that if the DA decides, like, in Dallas County, the DA said, okay, I'm not going to, even though there's a law against shoplifting, as long as it's under $750 a day at each store, you can shoplift as much as you want. Well, that's not right. He's not supposed to make up the laws. He's supposed to enforce them. I can't do anything about it, and the legislature hasn't fixed that, so that's the state of affairs. So in Travis County and other counties, you've got DAs who are not prosecuting a lot of major crime, and the legislature so far has just sat on their hands and let that happen.
So it's actually like not against the law to steal or commit crimes.
It's against the law,
Same with
but there's
California.
no one that will enforce it because the legislature the legislature knows that their DAs are not going to prosecute. They could pass a law that said, okay, if we're not going to get it done at the local level, let's get it done at the state level. Let's let the Attorney General prosecute things that are not being prosecuted and give them some resources to do it. They've said, let's just live with what we got because the DAs don't want to change it. Because that way the DAs, they're not accountable to anybody. They can do whatever they want. They're like little kings and queens that run these little areas, and no one can force them to prosecute. I'm not saying every DA is doing that. I'm saying in most of the...
No.
But that's not different from the mafia at all.
No, it's not. And they can participate with the mafia if they want to. And as long as they're not committing a federal crime, it's no one can stop them.
Well, maybe this would be a good learning experience. Like, maybe I could wake up some people and go, because you could wake me up. Like, how would I go about starting a legislation thing? How would I do that?
Right here, we just encourage people to talk to their elected representatives, go meet them, and say, hey, we need some backup, some accountability for these district attorneys who are not prosecuting any kind of crimes or who are not prosecuting certain crimes. Why not? Why is that a bad idea? I don't see why it's a bad idea, but the legislature resisted that, and the DAs have been in there lobbying every session to try to keep themselves from having anybody that would help them prosecute crimes. And these are even DAs.
Well, people should push against that and say, how come whose side are you on? Why do we elect you?
Why wouldn't you want people prosecuted for shoplifting? Why wouldn't you want people prosecuted for stealing votes? Why wouldn't you want people prosecuted for committing heinous crimes?
Yeah. It's the Soros plan. It's to crash our economy and our country so he can buy it low and sell it high. We talk about it every week. They're trying to destroy it.
Buy low, sell high. Yeah. And if you cause a lot of chaos, you can buy it cheap.
It's gross.
It's so sick. It's crony capitalism. So, when was the left the champion of crony capitalism? They're not even the left. I don't even get why they say they're progressive because they're anything but. They're just the mafia or something.
They're useful idiots.
Some cartel, some crime cartel. from hell.
They're pawns in the game.
Honestly, I think it's a global elite. They all work together. They all know each other. They all go over to Switzerland and talk about it over there, and their little meetings in Davos, and they decide how they're going to rule the world.
And Epstein Island, they go there a lot.
They used to.
Yeah, I'm sure there's another place now.
I knew the Attorney General in the Virgin Islands. She was pursuing that, and then Biden went to visit the Virgin Islands, and suddenly she lost her job.
Wow.
And all that investigation kind of went away.
Was that when he was vice president, or is this?
No, that was when he was president. He went down there, and then all of a sudden she disappeared. Like she was gone. Like I used to, when I've actually visited with her in several different locations, and I thought she was doing a good job investigating all that stuff, and then suddenly she's out.
They got to her. Hope she's safe. Hope she doesn't shoot herself in 3 times. Clinton suicide.
Don't say something like that.
Hey, Ken, I have a quick question for you. The lawsuit, 2 questions. The Pfizer lawsuit we talked about earlier in the show. Is there any update on that, or is that just something that kind of just gets thrown out and gets stuck in the courts for a while, or is there progress? Because I'm really excited about that one.
No, I think there's going to be. I mean,
can you update us?
We don't have a trial setting yet, but we're in Texas, which is where we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think they're going to have to answer. And what I love about this is it's going to expose the whole vaccine and how they did it, and why do they have federal protection so that they don't actually have to test anything? They're not liable for.
Well, it wasn't even a vaccine. Remember when they got around that? They said, "Okay, it ain't a vaccine. We're just going to change the name."
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't even a vaccine.
It's not an inoculation at all. No, it's a treatment. They changed the definition.
That's what they use to get the liability protection. That's why they're saying we can't sue them, because they got federal protection back in the 80s, and then later on in early 2000, they got protection so that individuals can't sue them.
Right.
You can go in and say, look, they killed 12,000 people yesterday, and they wouldn't be liable. But guess what? We have state laws, and if they commit a deceptive trade practice and they lie to us about the effectiveness, and they lie to us, and then they try to crush any kind of conversation about it, and they censor people and they attack them, well, guess what? Under Texas law, that's a problem.
Okay, so,
and we can see.
So this is a state case.
Yes, this is a state case, state law. They're arguing that federal law protects them from state law, and I'm saying no, it doesn't.
Okay, and if your way, I'm sorry, just to understand, if your way works, would this be something that would encourage other attorney generals in other states? Is that the next move, or could you win the whole thing in Texas and shut them down?
Yeah, I want them to. I filed it hoping other attorney generals would do the same thing, but you know what? So far, that hasn't happened. And remember, there's no more powerful lobby and no more bigger money machine than Big Pharma. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily an accident. I got impeached 3 weeks after I started.
I didn't realize the timing on that. That's absolutely
3 weeks. I announced it May 1st, and by the 3rd week of May, they were booting me out.
Wow. And then
because you let them know the direction you were going to go, and like I said, it was like, oh no, this guy, he has some ethics. We can't have that.
Well, look, if they could just answer the questions and come forward with the truth, assuming they're telling the truth, there should be no problem. That's the challenge. They didn't tell us the truth, and they've continued to lie about the effectiveness of their vaccine and what it does to people.
We wish you luck on that case. You also have another case. Sorry, I just want to ask you're teamed up with Daily Wire and the Federalist to sue the Biden administration for censorship of Americans. Is that any update on that? I'm following that case as well. All your cases are my favorite.
Corporations can censor, right? They can censor it, but government can't. So what the government done through the Biden administration is they go to corporations and say, hey, we need you to censor these people doing this and this, whether they're talking about the vaccine or whether they're talking about Biden in some negative way. Well, that to me is a violation of our First Amendment when the government encourages businesses, especially monopolistic businesses like Google, to cut us off, and we can't communicate.
That reminds me what I was going to tell you about the lawsuit. Is everybody that's bringing all these charges on Trump, all of them, and it says they was all going to Biden, they were all talking to Obama and Biden, this and that. Well, that is RICO. Yeah,
I mean, that's actually interesting. It would take a lot of investigation.
Not really. They said it all themselves. They arrested people after, that Fonnie Willis. She arrested all those people. after speaking to Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. Okay, look at what she employed to bring a fake and hire a boyfriend to go on a vacation with to take the money. Um, she did all that, and how else could she have done it if not for organized crime, RICO?
All right. Well, I'm going
Okay,
to look at that. Figure out if there's
and
some.
New York,
We have.
and New
Yes.
York too. What's her
Roseanne Barr
face?
podcast.
The big ugly woman that can't dance well, and
Letitia.
Alvin Bragg. Uh-huh. They also employed a whole
Yeah.
host of
Alvin Bragg.
operatives, also paid by the government, the mafia, and that's RICO as well. And fucking, oops, excuse me, it totally figures into the Fonnie Willis one too. It's all that RICO.
There's also civil RICO, so we may be able to look at the civil side since I can't do the criminal side.
Yeah, do the civil because I won a RICO case once against the tabloids. That's how come I know about RICO. Do a civil one.
See, I can learn law from you, Roseanne. I like that.
Tell you, I love. Well, we just love you, and you are a brave person who I think inspires a lot of people to get involved. Uh, make themselves aware, keep educating themselves, keep having faith, keep having hope, keep trusting in our own intelligence and our own faith in each other, and that is what makes America.
You also, one more question. I mean, we still have a lot of time, but you also were, you filed a brief. I'm looking at these notes here with against Jack Smith
Hate.
and to circumvent the appeals of Trump. Is there an update on that one?
No, another one that we're just in the middle of. The downside of my job is it's never like immediate. You just have to get in there and grind it. But in the end, I think we've sued Biden now 50-ish, a little over 50 times. And eventually we've gotten some, really good results. Now, one of the problems with the Biden administration is then they just come back and change it up a little, and then we have to sue them again. So they don't have a lot of respect for the rule of law or the Constitution. So they are very dismissive of when they lose. They're very dismissive of that, and they move on to something very similar.
You mean that lawfare? They do that lawfare stuff, huh? It's not exactly law.
Oh, the lawfare stuff is where they go after people like me and the president and other people they've taken out. It's if you stand up and you're effective in fighting them, you're going to experience trouble with the legal system. And the legal system, there's so many bad judges now. There's so many judges that have total disdain for the law. They think they are the law. And so when you walk in, you're arguing the law, and they're like, doesn't matter to me. We're not going to worry about that.
Right.
We are going to just say you're guilty because we don't like you. We don't like your politics. And that's unfortunate because once that starts breaking down, I mean, it's hard to have a free country, and it's hard to be free when you've got judges that are going to put you in jail because they don't like you.
But that is so much ingrained in the American judicial system. I mean, look at the South and what they did to black citizens. All that, it was exactly that. So that itself has to change. That the judges don't care anything for law, nor do they care anything for evidence. And in Trump's lawsuit in New York, they're giving a trial with no jury. It's up to one judge. I mean, this is just criminal. Their lawfare is just criminal. It's show trials like they would do in Stalinist Russia. It isn't American. It isn't constitutional. And I mean, I cannot believe how many American citizens are cheering it, the destruction and disrespect of the law that keeps us safe.
Well, if they realize what they're doing, it someday could be used against them. And if you'll remember, under Stalin, his chief of security used to say, "Show me the man, and I'll show you the crime." Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. There's so many laws that they can arbitrarily use against you that are not right or wrong or morally right or wrong. They're just like made up stuff that no one really even knows about. I mean, look at the IRS code. Does any human being know all of the regulations that stack to my roof in small letters? No one knows all that stuff. So they can always find an angle, a word to try to make you look like you're done something wrong. And that's what they do. They just pervert the justice system to arbitrarily and capriciously prosecute people that are not doing anything that harms anybody.
And the process of their lawsuits is really the punishment. Forget going to prison. You'll be dead by the time you go. First they bankrupt you. It's just horrible. It's so creepy. We have to be free of these jackals that feed on us. That's what it is. We're their prey. We're not, talk about it's not a republic of, by, and for the people in any way. It's at our expense, and we're the prey. And that has nothing to do with our founding fathers.
Any system can keep taking you to court, and unfortunately, President Trump has resources, but most people leave their jobs where they make maybe a better living, and they come do public service, and they're not making very much money, and then suddenly they're defending themselves in all these lawsuits that the government's bringing, not individuals, not like my fellow citizens, the
Right.
government, and the government has unlimited resources. Like in my impeachment, I think they had 17 lawyers. They probably spent $10 million, and they put me in a position where I have to go spend millions of dollars to compete against them. Um, and I just don't think that's fair. When they lose, they should have to reimburse me, because
Yes.
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, even it's not even fair if you're just having to fight them. But if you win, at the very least, how come I can't get paid back for what they cost me?
Yeah.
Because they can just keep doing this, and eventually, you just run out of money.
Yeah. And then they try to get you blacklisted so you can't work, because that's what they did to me. They got me blacklisted too. And I would think about suing them, but then I'm like, oh my God, if I go into court with them, they would turn it around. So it cost me everything I got plus more. And I just
Yeah.
they don't feel bad about it for a minute, but they don't even doubt that it's their right to destroy people, because you know
No, they actually, Roseanne, I think they enjoy it. I mean, like, I look at a guy like, I'm going to just say it, Karl Rove. I think he enjoys
I,
hurting people. I think he
Yes, he does.
enjoys disparaging people that
No, he's
he disagrees
sadistic.
with. But yeah, I mean, he wants power and control, and Fox News gives it to him, and he doesn't care what he has to do to people. I've seen him. I've been watching him do this for decades.
yeah,
Me too.
he's
He's the guy that invented lying in political campaigns and framing
Well,
the
and he's
opponent.
mostly everybody, because he's on Fox News, everybody thinks he's a conservative Republican. He's not a conservative Republican. He hates conservative Republicans.
Yeah.
He's for Karl Rove and his little global elitist,
Mhm.
Bush clan.
Yeah.
And, he gets away with lying every day. And unfortunately, most Americans don't know how bad this guy is.
well. How could they?
It's scary.
All they do is everything we see on TV and the media is just anti-Trump for 7 years, all day long, every day. I mean, that was why Iowa was so cool, because it was like, despite every time they have indicted him or defamed him or framed him or tried to, it was just so cool that American people would be that rooted in truth, to know how badly they've been used and lied to. It's just so great to know, even more than knowing he won, which I'm of course thrilled, but just to know that the people can't be lied to anymore. I'm so thrilled with that.
No, it's the same thing that happened to me in my impeachment. The people stood up for me, and they got it. And that's the most encouraging part of going through difficult times, is you realize, hey,
Yeah.
the American people aren't stupid, and
Right.
they're not corrupt. The American people, somehow, they find the truth.
Because they're smart people, that's why, and because they read. It's astounding. It's astounding how smart regular people are and how dumb the elevated are. That's the thing I found
The
out when I
elites.
went to Hollywood. I couldn't believe it.
They may not have a genius IQ, but they're wiser than some of the people that have this genius.
Well, they're in the
IQ.
real world. That's the deal. They have common sense. You have to do things to survive in the real world, and that gives you intelligence that you don't get as an elitist.
Well, I loved
Frankly.
seeing the people sitting there counting out the names for Trump on paper ballots. Oh my gosh, was that a thrill! I loved seeing that. That was
You got real
a
votes.
message to the snooty types at the top. Yeah, we're going to have paper ballots, and we're going to have free elections no matter what you try to do about it. Sorry.
they did steal the election. And so the only way you can get away from that and be safe is to have
Right.
paper ballots that are actually counted and take it off the
Right.
system so that it can't be hacked. Because if it can
Yeah.
be hacked,
Well, they
it
did
can
all
change.
that. Plus, they get 51 guys to say he is a spy. You know, they used everything in their arsenal to do it. But what I can't stand is that he was the president at the time they were doing all that. So what was he supposed to do as president of the United States? Who the what do they call it? The insurgency. It was against him. Hello, he was the
Hmm.
president of the United
Yeah.
States during the
Yeah.
phony ballot thing. He was the president of the United States all up till they purposely overthrew him on January 6th by bringing in people to do a fake insurrection there. That was to stop the people who were saying, wait a
Hmm.
minute, something's fishy here.
Yeah. Let's send it back to the states.
Well, and I can tell you, they stole this last election with mail-in ballots, and the way they did it was by mailing it out to people that were just they mail them out to everybody. So when those ballots come back in, there's no way to know who sent them back in. Anybody can go gather those and sign them because there was no signature verification, there was no photo ID, there was nothing to stop anybody from filling those ballots in and mailing them in. And that's what we stopped in Texas. So do you remember an election where it took 3 days to count all the ballots?
Mm-mm.
Has that ever happened? You know why it happened?
Right.
Because they needed to figure out how many votes they really needed. So it took them a couple of days to figure out for sure how many votes, and then they had to get all those mail-in ballots in, enough of them to overturn the election. That's what they
How
did.
many people you think were complicit in that overthrow of the United States government?
I mean, it was a lot of people. It was well organized. I know that because we were dealing with 12 lawsuits just in Texas. And I called President Trump in May before the election. I said, if I don't win all of these lawsuits, you're going to lose Texas. He goes, there's no way. I said, no, they're going to steal it with mail-in ballots because once they mail out 8 million ballots, which is what they were trying to do in all these Democratic cities,
Right.
I said, I don't know who's sending them back in. And I won't be able to prove fraud. I'll know they committed it, but I can't prove who voted. And I said, if you don't stop this in all these other states, I said, I can't. All I can deal with is Texas. And if I win all of these lawsuits, you'll win Texas. If I lose one of them, if I lose Harris County, where they sent out 2.6 million ballots, you're going to lose. So you better figure out how to stop this mail-in ballot fraud because it's happening all over the country. And I don't necessarily think he really understood what I was saying because that's exactly what they ended up stealing.
And that's still going to be a problem going into this
Yeah,
election.
but what other? I mean, they did everything. That might have been, but that didn't stop them from doing the. Well, I can see that that's part of the mules thing,
Mhm.
but they did
Oh yeah,
stuff
that was the
like
mule thing.
hook up
That's-
the machines to the internet and all that
Mhm.
stuff too that they weren't supposed to do.
Look, they'll do. I
yeah.
think they'll cheat any way they can. So I'm not saying that the only way. I'm just saying mail-in ballots were a primary way that they stole the last election.
Well, isn't that RICO? That's even involved in the post office and the RICO there.
You know, it's shocking though, Roseanne. I filed a lawsuit against 4 of the states that didn't follow their own laws, and then the Supreme
Remember
Court
that.
just dismissed it out of hand and said that I didn't have standing. I'm like, how do I not have standing? My state was damaged. If the elections laws were not followed, who would have standing then? Who could file a lawsuit if there's an election problem and states don't follow their own laws, which is what happened in Georgia and Arizona and Michigan and Wisconsin and
I
Pennsylvania.
know. I was astounded at that. I couldn't believe that they would say that Texas had no standing. When oh my God, I don't know. I'm like you. I'm a believer, and I do have faith. God's got something figured out for us. I mean, I hope so anyway. 'Cause we got a strong bad enemy.
Because we still are going to have to deal with mail-in ballots in 24, right?
Yeah,
That hasn't been fixed.
I don't know. It hadn't been fixed, and in Texas, we've got even a worse situation now. The Court of Criminal Appeals, which is all Republican, who I think George Soros put in place, struck down my ability to prosecute voter fraud. It was the only thing that I could prosecute. So I was prosecuting over 900 cases of voter fraud, and then suddenly, after 71 years, this court strikes down a statute that's been around for 7 decades and says it's unconstitutional for me to go to court. Insane. But again, this is a Republican court who I don't really believe is Republican,
No.
and we're running 3 people against those guys, trying to beat him. So I'm going to mention their names. David
Please.
Shank, Gina Parker, and Lee Finley are all running to try to replace the three that are up right now. So if your viewers are watching, please spread the name Gina Parker, David Shank, and Lee Finley.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have to have people in there who, are not there to BS us, but are there to serve us. I mean, I guess it's pretty smart for Soros to put in Democrats pretending to be Republicans.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People don't know who are on this court. This court is usually dealing with just criminal matters, and so most people, and there are Supreme Court for that, where it's just a court no one knows. And so, how smart was that to put people on there that would overturn election laws and allow the state not to have any protection from voter fraud? So we're going to end up just like Georgia or Arizona or Pennsylvania if we can't fix that in this next election.
It's terrifying, huh? But I think
Yeah.
they're out there going, we can't have Trump back. He'll be a dictator. It'll be all retribution, and they're scared for their lives. So I don't think there's nothing. I don't put nothing past them to interfere. You think we're going to win?
We're going to win. We're going to win the Texas House back. We're going to defeat the Speaker. David Covey's going to win, and we're going to take back the Court of Criminal Appeals so that we can get control of our elections. Those are the two key things. Those three people winning and the Speaker losing to David Covey, and along with other House members that voted the wrong way. If we don't turn that around now in Texas, we're going to lose Texas, and if we lose Texas, we lose the country.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. I don't know how we, of course, we want to help, and we're all in, but
Yeah. When are these elections? Is that in November?
This is March first Tuesday of
You
March.
need to get out of here, Ma.
Super important elections to go out and vote in the primary, the Republican primary, and make sure that we elect those three people: Gina Parker, David Shank, and Lee Finley, and then also that we elect guys like David Covey running against the Speaker of the House. We do that, Texas is on a good path. If we don't, we
Are
got
you
problems.
doing fundraisers or things we can come to?
So 2 days ago I was in helping David Covey. I was in his district, or the one that he's going to represent. Then I went to help Katrina Pearson running against a very bad incumbent out in Rockwall, and that was for lunch yesterday. Last night I was at an event for a guy named Brent Money. So I mean, unfortunately, it's my own party. We're having to clean house, but I'm going all over the state trying to help people defeat these very powerful, wealthy Republicans that are getting their money from Austin.
Yeah, that is exactly what needs to be done. I can see that's the tip of the spear there, and I love it because they're traitors.
Yeah.
They're traitors.
They are traitors. And they don't care about their constituents. They don't raise money from their constituents. They don't care about what's best for their constituents. They're answering, just like in D.C., they're answering to the swamp, the lobbyists, the power brokers in Austin, instead of their own constituents.
Well, let us know if we can help somehow. I mean, I think you're going to be here in March, Ma, hopefully. If you,
I'm doing something down there in March. I think I'm doing a strip show.
Yeah.
For people.
I'm gonna get you some names to talk about on a regular basis until March.
And can I ask you
right.
a question?
Go for it, Jake.
Since you're an attorney general and obviously legally very intelligent, what is your prediction for all of the Trump court and civil cases, criminal and civil cases this year?
Look, I mean, he's in a bad spot because he's in very liberal courts, just like I am. I've got one myself coming up in April, and it's just I'm in a liberal court where they transfer me out of my home county. So I mean, it looks like the whole thing's rigged, right? I mean, and it looks like that with Trump, that they've tried to rig so that he can't be president. Now, somehow, like in my impeachment, they tried to rig that, and I still won. So I don't give up hope, but they certainly try to make it almost impossible for you to win because they don't focus on the law and they don't focus on the facts. They try to just make it political.
Yeah, everything. They politicize everything. And they're going to politicize your shirt, so you better talk to us about how your daughter loves that character and why you're wearing that shirt.
So my daughter Abby, she was in the United States Air Force. She was a captain. She was in Special Forces. Went to Afghanistan twice. I told her she should never get a tattoo, and I wouldn't pay for her college if she got one. Well, she got one in the Air Force. She got a big Texas on her shoulder. But she loves Harry Potter. So, she's got me wearing the Gryffindor sweatshirt. So I'm in alliance with my daughter Abby, who's a patriot and who served her country for several years before she had her first child.
That's awesome. Are you proud that the new Miss America is a fighter pilot from the Air Force as well?
Yeah, I have a fondness for the Air Force. My dad was an Air Force pilot for 22 years. My daughter was in the Air Force.
Those people are the heart of our country, and there's nothing we can say except for try to correct what horrible things have happened to them. That's my number one thing. I
Yep.
can't stand it.
Well, I'm with you. Of course, they all got forced to get the vaccine against their will, and I'm worried about the consequences of that, the long-term effects of
Yeah,
that
that was
vaccine.
the worst thing they did, was to do that. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And look what we ended up with. Now they're complaining that nobody will sign up to join the armed forces. Well, what did you expect?
Right, shocking, right? You force them to take a vaccine against their will that has no known health benefit or no proven health benefits and potentially has long-term side effects, and you wonder why people don't want to sign up voluntarily for the military.
I don't understand these people. I just pray God will remove them as quickly as we can make that happen. And Iowa and your return and the work you're doing gives me hope that the people can indeed. We've reached the boiling point there. I think the people, we don't need to awaken any more people. I think Iowa proved the great awakening is over, and now it's time for the great justice, where we take back our country and our states' rights in this constitutional republic. That's how I feel about it. And I'm very glad you were.
Oh, I agree with you. And you know what? I'm in the fight. I can guarantee that. I'm not.
No,
I
I
have
know
not
you
backed
have,
down.
and that's why I enjoy your company, and I'm always excited to be able to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I'd love to come back sometime.
Oh, we love it. Let's make it happen and get these people elected down
Absolutely. We got to do this in person. And
Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it before the March.
there. Yeah,
yeah, we're going to help.
And I can come on and
definitely.
talk.
Let's make.
Let's talk, because she might be in South Carolina at the end of February to help yours truly, Trump, at the caucus there. So
Yeah, I'll be doing
we'll
a
just-
nude show for him down there.
Yeah. Well, she's going to do it for his opponent so that he'll win. No. I just wanted to take a second to tell you and remind you again that we are now affiliated with Goldco. You can go to rblikesgold.com. That is my mother's landing page with them, and fill out the IRA kit form. That's what they specialize in. If you have a retirement account, you got your money in savings or stocks, and you have this big plan, you cannot rely on it. Things are too volatile. I suggest highly that you look into transferring your retirement into gold and silver, at least a portion of it, because we don't know what's going to happen with the stock market. I mean, Biden's shitting his pants literally, an election's coming. China's here. I mean, you know how insane things are. So go in there, fill out the form. If you have a retirement account, they'll walk you through it. You got to do it. You can change it years later if you're not comfortable or things get better. But right now, put as much of your money safely in gold and silver as you can. You can also just buy gold and silver on this website. You don't have to do the IRA kit. That's what they specialize in. That's what that's the product that they're best known for, but you don't have to do it. Just fill it out. When you talk to someone, say, I just want to buy gold and silver bars, they'll talk you through that as well. So go to rblikesgold.com and protect your wealth. Thank you. Hey, I just got to say one more thing, Ken. I love this shirt, but John Pardue, our dear friend, texted that he was so excited you wore that shirt, and it just got me thinking. I'm not insulting, just never take fashion advice from John Pardue.
Every once in a while, I got to change things up.
Just like John, who, when you guys were on Twitter and they were talking about you going to Disneyland and there was a little heat, everyone thought he was Hulk Hogan. Did you see that? The Twitter comments? All right. Well, I'll stop talking about Pardue. He'll get a big hit.
Well, I don't feel bad about going to Disney and running the Disney half marathon with my daughter, my two daughters, and my two sons-in-law. So
You ran it with all them?
Yeah, I finished in the top 20%. There were 16,500 people that ran it. I finished 3,186.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Hey, that's not bad for 61 years.
That's
Not bad at
good.
all.
What a great family venture too. Our family ventures are eating and laying and staring at a screen. That's good. You guys are active.
But we are number one at that. No 3,000 for
Oh,
That,
yeah,
that,
we are.
that's right. I wasn't even close to being number one. Now, I had some other. My daughter, one of my daughters, finished 3/16 out of 16,500,
That's good.
and my son-in-law has finished 190th and 17th.
Wow.
17?
They were 17.
Wow,
These are all the special guys that are crazy.
that's incredible.
17th out of 16,000,
Wow.
whatever.
And 17, as you must know, is quite an interesting number there.
No.
Uh-oh.
You
I didn't know that, but I was
okay.
impressed with him.
Well, for those of us,
Let's not get him in trouble.
no, but to certain segments of us, 17.
We have all
is
types of
a big
fans on
Trump
the show.
number. It's a big
Yeah.
Trump number. We love it.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, Ken, thank you so much. That was a true
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and if we can
Yeah,
work
let's
it
come
out,
back.
let's see if
Let's
Yeah,
do
we're
it.
doing it. We're
And
doing
I am calling it the Revenge Tour, even if you don't like it. And I'm backing you 100%. Let's go get them.
We hope we get revenge or
Yeah.
justice. It's
Justice.
justice, not revenge.
It's
Revenge
better.
is just something children do. Justice is what adults get.
Well said.
That's right. It's justice, and it's about changing the Texas House to be responsive to the people of Texas instead of corporate and Austin lobby interests
Well said.
first. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have interest in our corporations and other people, but it should be about the constituents first.
Absolutely. I love that we ended on that.
We've had a little bit of an update, and I just wanted to get an update because my fear was we'd air a Ken Paxton podcast this Thursday without mention of the SCOTUS ruling for the razor wire removal. And it's a huge story, and I just didn't want people to come and click and feel like, let down. So I just wanted to give you 5 minutes of an open forum. I'll cut it into our show and just update us and tell us what you think.
Yeah. So the Supreme Court ruled yesterday on we'd sued the federal government over cutting down our fences and our razor wire on our property. And we thought it was a pretty good lawsuit.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing in the Supreme Court. Justice Roberts and Justice Barrett, who tends to go with Justice Roberts with the liberal judges, sided with the liberal judges and told us that the federal government can access the property even though it's not there. They could cut it down to allow more illegals in, even though there's 1,200 miles more of border that the cartels can work with the Biden administration with getting people in. And that's really what's going on. And we just have a few areas where we're trying to block off, protect our people from crime. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't protect your people from crime or anything else. If the federal government wants to cut down your wire and let more people come in and work with the cartels in a broader way, then we're going to let them do it. And
there was no mention for either justice that cited of why they did it. Usually they say the reason for this. What possible constitutional authority is it? Is it like cruel and unusual punishment they're citing? Like, I don't even understand what they ruled and why they ruled it. What do you think?
So there was a case that where Arizona 10 years ago, and the Obama administration was trying to protect their border, and Obama was like just letting people come in too. Yeah. And Justice Roberts decided with Justice Kennedy and 3 other liberal judges that the federal government had complete access and that a state could not protect itself. It could not. If the federal government wasn't going to enforce laws, the state couldn't come in and have its own laws. We were just stuck with the federal government not enforcing laws, and whatever consequence that is to the states, I mean, just kind of too bad, right? If we have fentanyl and people are dying, or we have crime, it's really just too bad. The federal government has, according to these judges, the purview and the control to say, look, we're just going to let all this bad stuff happen to your people, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is what we want. And the court says, yeah, do that. That's the law.
Because so it's a jurisdiction issue. They're saying that the federal government has jurisdiction.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think if the federal government is going to pass a law and then not enforce it, and then say, well, because we passed this law, now you can't have a law.
Right.
That doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, I know these guys are really smart, but remember, it was a 5-4 decision. These are very liberal judges, and Roberts is siding with them, and that's just a reality of where we're at. I don't know why he does that. I don't know why he wants illegal immigration and the consequences that, I mean, people are dying. There are kids that are dying from fentanyl overdoses. I know kids that have died, and crime is on the uptick. So we're going to have people die. We're going to negative consequences. The cost of this is going to affect every American. We're all paying for it, whether we know it or not.
So what's the next step to update people? Because
So we're back in court, so presumably we could still win, but I would say, they sent a very bad signal to the court below, and the court below that, hey, Texas is going to have to let the federal government cut down all the fences that we put up. And we've got some other cases we have a chance of winning on, that we're deporting people ourselves, and we're trying to protect a certain park. But I'm disappointed that this is how the Supreme Court is moving forward with a case that so dramatically affects our country. I mean, it's very helpful to the Biden administration and very helpful to the cartels, but there's not very many Americans that I can say would benefit.
It is surprising, and Amy Coney Barrett also sided with Roberts. They were...
Well, and it seems like Roberts has a lot of influence over her, especially when Roberts is siding with the liberal judges. He tends to be more liberal. He's a Bush appointee, so it shouldn't be that surprising. Justice Souter was another Bush appointee, right? He's probably the worst Republican pick ever.
Yeah.
And now we've got Roberts who's going that direction for some reason. But the Bushes have, on average, given us not the best picks. Now, I will say George W. gave us Alito, so that was a stellar pick. Mm-hmm. I have to give him credit for that. But on average, the justices that the Bushes have picked have not been the ones that have defended the Constitution in the way that I would like to see them do.
This is kind of more of a standard, like kind of old American conflict of states' rights versus federal rights. This goes back almost to the founding of this country. Is there an escalation that concerns you? Because I know that at one point, and forgive me, I've been driving 19 straight hours, so I'm a little out of it. There was a point where the National Guard, or at least armed people, were being sent by Abbott to the border. So this is almost, I don't want to say like it's a standoff or there's going to be shooting, but there certainly seems to be an escalation, and we're talking about, guns being involved. Do you see this getting crazy, or it's just an...
Well, the Supreme Court actually is putting I think, people in such harm's way that it's almost inevitable that they're creating a situation where either something's going to happen with our people or people trying to defend themselves. They're basically saying, we're going to let crime come into the country at a massive rate. The cartels are doing a great job, by the way. They're making billions, and the Biden administration has this partnership with them. And they never say it, but that's what is going on. The cartels are not like hiding anybody anymore. They're trying to get people to the Biden administration, right? It's not like they come to the border and they hide anymore. They are literally like, where's the Border Patrol and where's the Biden administration to help us, right? Because we got a lot of people we're going to bring, and we make money on all this, and we got drugs coming in. So the Supreme Court is putting us in a position, and I say the 5 members that decided this, where we're going to have confrontation because there's just going to be more crime, and people are going to die. So this is a decision to let more Americans suffer the consequences. The more liberal members of the Supreme Court said is, hey, Texas, rest of the nation, we're not going to protect you. We realize, and they know it, that there's going to be some confrontation in the end because of crime. And some Americans are just going to have to die for this.
Right. And I know in the episode with you and my mother that we've already recorded, you've kind of alluded to the fact that this is intentional, and that, the Biden administration almost seems to be doing this. I think you say they're doing this to kind of cost red states money, run the crime up. Do you think this is an actual intentional move against Republican states, right?
Absolutely. They started this the very first day that he came into office. He said, we're not deporting anybody. And he quit building the wall, which he was required to do by appropriations from Congress. He got rid of all of the laws that he stopped enforcing the Remain in Mexico and Title 42. And instead, we started doing catch and release again, which we'd stopped doing. When we catch them now, we let them go. Yeah. So all you have to do is look at the actions, the behavior. It's clear to me that they want these people here, and they want them in Republican states, because the Democratic states have not done well economically. People are leaving. California's losing people. New York, Illinois, all the big Democratic states that tax their people heavily and have significant regulations on business. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, all the Republican states are doing really well. And so I think the Biden administration is trying to punish us and make it harder for us to compete against the Democratic states. So they know they can't compete on how we're treating our people, because we're treating our people a lot better than the Democratic states are. But they can say, well, let's just make it hard by creating massive costs for these people in the Republican states, and maybe we can also create a lot of havoc with crime and drugs, and it'll bring those states down. So I think it's a purposeful effort. They'll never say that, but all you have to do is look at what they're doing, right. And that whether they say it or not, that's what's happening.
So as a fellow Texan now, because I left California for Texas for the reasons you mentioned, so did my mother. If crime is becoming rampant in our neighborhoods and fentanyl and cartels around, we have a right to defend ourselves. I don't know the legalities of Texas. I know there's stand your ground in Florida, but I'm not really up on the law in Texas. But are we even allowed to defend ourselves, or do we have to wait till they're in our homes? And
you can stand your ground. We have the castle doctrine here. Okay. So if they come in your house, but that doesn't protect your kids from fentanyl overdoses. And the problem is you can't anticipate all the crime that's going on because the cartels are so incentivized now because they're making billions and they don't want that to stop. So they're building networks into the United States. And the Biden administration is not just turning the other, they're not just, ignoring it. They're like participating in making it easier. So our own government, the Biden administration, is working to cause great harm to the country on purpose.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy. Is there anything else do you want to say, or anything we can do for the people listening out there?
Yeah, just know we're going to continue to fight. I mean, we have other cases. We're trying to protect that park. We're trying to deport people. We have a law that was passed in the last legislative session so that we're deporting people. We're going to be in litigation all of that because the Biden administration doesn't want us to do anything that would inhibit their ability to work with the cartels to bring more people here and allow the rampant, drug importation, sex trafficking, all this stuff. And of course, they deny that they want all this stuff, but again, everything they're doing says, yes, we want this. Nothing they're doing says, no, we don't. So I don't believe what their mouth says. I believe what their actions do.
Right. Well, this is, I think a lot of new Trump voters were made with this ruling. I do. I think the silver lining is that this kind of pushing by the Biden administration, it becomes clearer and clearer every day. And even the most fervent liberals that I know in my family or friends, they're starting to kind of wake up. And I mean, it's not about a political win for Trump. It's about Trump is the guy that's going to come in. He's already running on this platform of closing the border. He has a history of doing a good job with it. He's also talking about mass deportations. Like, this is his campaign now.
Well, and in the White House, when they were asked about this yesterday by Peter Doocy, like, what do you have to say about this ruling? And they're like, they didn't have a good answer. They don't have an answer. They don't want to talk about it now because they're in election mode, right? So they're not saying the things they used to say. So they're saying, well, we're just trying to help Border Patrol. That's ridiculous. We're just trying to make it safer. That's ridiculous. That defies all logic and all truth. Right. That they're trying to make the border safer. That's their lie to the American people because the American people are not that stupid, right. And they've caught on to the Biden administration's plan, and I think it's going to cost Joe Biden the election.
Yeah, I do too. Which is, I hate to say, a good thing because it's people are going to die, but at least it's waking people up. Or at least I hope so.
No, it is a good thing, and I think if we're now not a full year away from a new president being sworn in. Hopefully that's Donald Trump. And at least when we get him, we know there's been a lot of damage. There's a lot of people here that shouldn't be here. There's a lot of criminals, a lot of terrorists here. And that's another problem down the road. And we know that Trump will be working on that. It's just the Biden administration, it's like if you can protect a lake for, hundreds of years. And then if a gas truck drives into it and gas is leaked into the lake, you got a problem. And nobody can fix it right away. And that's the damage that Joe Biden is the guy that drove the gas tanker into the lake and released the gas into the water and killed everything. And now we got to go back and try to clean the lake up and fix it and replenish the life. And that's where we're at.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck. We are with you. America is with you. And, what would happen? Last question. If you went there, because I'm not a legal expert. If you went back, they cut the razor wire. If you immediately put up new razor wire, do you go to jail? Like, what happened?
No, all they said is they can cut it. We're not going to help them. Right. We're not going to go cut it for them. We're not going to make it easy for them. Look, we still care about the people of our state, given the impediments we have with the Biden administration and now the Supreme Court.
It's insane. It's an insane time. All right. Well, I will let you go. I appreciate this. And don't forget to check the episode out tomorrow. I'll send you the links.
Well, hey, thank you for doing this.
Oh, you see.